Welcome to the Chronicle Reports. I'm your host. Today, we are conducting a deep dive analysis into a phenomenon that sits at the volatile intersection of political rhetoric, racial hierarchy, and intellectual dishonesty. We are examining the curious and often combative history of Dinesh D'Souza. While many in the contemporary political landscape, including figures like Vivek Ramaswamy, navigate the complexities of the model minority archetype within conservative circles, D'Souza has carved out a specific and arguably obsessive anti-black niche. This isn't just about a few tweets. It's about a calculated brand built on punching down. Tonight we aren't just looking at what he said, we're re-looking at why he said it, the history behind his arguments, and the personal record of the man attempting to play the role of America's moral and intellectual arbiter. Get comfortable. This is a story of facts, felonies, and the business of outrage. Our story begins with a digital firestorm. It started with a tweet from Bruce Bartlett, who posited that half of the American population has an IQ below the median, and that the GOP represents them. Now, look closely at that statement. It was vague. It was race neutral. It was a general critique of political demographics. However, Dinesh D'Souza viewed this as an open invitation to inject racial pseudoscience into the vacuum. Without any prompting regarding race D'Souza responded by claiming that virtually every IQ study over the last half-century shows that black people, whom he labeled the rock-solid base of the Democratic Party, have the lowest IQ of any ethnic group. He specifically cited them as being one standard deviation below whites and Asian Americans. This is where we must analyze the linguistic roots of the argument. D'Souza utilizes terms like standard deviation and IQ studies to provide a veneer of scientific legitimacy to a historical trope of intellectual inferiority. It's a classic tactic, dressing up old-school prejudice in the borrowed robes of academia. But the real question for the Chronicle reports is this: why? Why does a man who constantly demands that black people stop bringing up race find himself so psychologically obsessed with black identity that he injects it into a conversation where it didn't exist? To understand D'Souza, we have to explore his cultural roots and his perceived influences. Originally from India, D'Souza positions himself as part of an Asian branch that he holds up alongside white Americans as the gold standard of intelligence. By positioning black people at the bottom of this hierarchy, D'Souza isn't just attacking a group. He is reinforcing his own status within the conservative movement. It is a move for cultural alignment. He shares these anti-black narrative sentiments with other figures like Bobby Jindal, creating a brand that gains traction specifically by disparaging black progress. We argue that this is not a search for truth, but a search for clicks. In the current digital landscape, anti-blackness is trendy. It drives the algorithm. If you look at D'Souza's YouTube channel, his highest engagement often comes when he is talking down to or about black people. It is a business model built on the economy of outrage. Now, let's pivot from his theories on intelligence to his own record of integrity. D'Souza often presents himself as an intellectual heavyweight. But history and the FBI have a much more grounded record of his character. In September 2014, Dinesh D'Souza was sentenced in a Manhattan federal court for campaign finance fraud. This was no accident. It was a willful violation of federal election law. The facts: D'Souza admitted to using straw donors to funnel illegal contributions to a United States Senate campaign. Specifically, he directed his assistant and a woman with whom he was romantically involved to make $20,000 in contributions to the campaign of Wendy Long. He then reimbursed them $10,000 each in cash to circumvent legal limits. When the candidate, Miss Long, confronted him, he initially misled her before finally admitting the truth. He pled guilty to a felony. He was sentenced to 5 years of probation, which included 8 months in a community confinement center, a $30,000 fine, and 8 hours of community service every single week for 5 years. Judge Richard Berman noted that D'Souza's defense, claiming he was a victim of selective prosecution, was, in legal terms, All hat, no cattle. His probation only ended around September 2019. There is a profound historical irony here. How can a convicted felon who admitted he knew his actions were wrong and something the law forbids sit in judgment of the intellectual and moral capacity of an entire race? While he calls others low IQ, he was the one caught undermining the integrity of the American election process. D'Souza loves to weaponize Asian and white success against black people. But if we are going to talk about IQ and metrics, let's look at the facts he leaves out. While D'Souza praises the integrity of these systems, reports from 2014, 2015, and 2018 have highlighted massive set cheating scandals in Asia, involving the use of bootleg tests to cram and inflate scores. In 2014, the same year D'Souza was convicted of his crimes, cheating was so rampant that the College Board had to recycle tests, compromising the very metrics D'Souza holds dear. Furthermore, a 2017 Forbes report indicated that 90% of Indian startups fail due to a lack of innovation. If D'Souza were truly interested in data, why does he ignore these facts? More importantly, why does he ignore the flourishing of black excellence? We see black students graduating college at 13 and 14 years old, securing millions in scholarships. His argument is rooted in historical selective bias. He ignores systemic barriers and black innovation to focus on a narrative of deficiency. This is the model minority, tactic in action, using the perceived success of one group to justify the marginalization of another. As we wrap up this report, let's look at what is behind the argument. Dinesh D'Souza anti-blackness isn't a scientific conclusion. It's a tool for political survival. By positioning himself against black Americans, he signals his loyalty to a hierarchy that values his presence only as long as he is punching down. When you strip away the standard deviations, what are you left with? You are left with a man who used straw donors to break the law and a man who uses race as a shield to distract from his own lack of integrity. At the Chronicle reports, we believe true intelligence is the ability to see through these facades. We must recognize these arguments for what they are: historical tropes dressed in modern data, designed to divide rather than educate. Thank you for joining us for this analysis. Stay informed, stay critical, and stay focused on the facts. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to the Chronicle Reports. I'm your host, and we'll see you in the next installment.